Whoa, can't believe it. I think I'm live finally. It's been a while, for sure. It's been quite the hiatus I've had off of YouTube, but just wanted to check in, pop in, and just to let you guys know that I'm okay, that I'm doing great, that life has continued to be a wonderful thing. This past year has been a year of so many changes and so many challenges that I've had in the past and stuff. And this year's just been the kind of year where I could just like let go of all of that and just be able to focus on just being present in myself, and not getting so consumed with others and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all the things that used to take up a lot of my time. It's been it's been a crazy. I know everybody. It's been a crazy summer so far. Wouldn't you say? I mean, we've been through so many things. Um, Life before March is looks much different than life after March. You know what I mean? Like with regards to the current situation in the world, it's you know, it's one for the record books. I mean, who knew, right? Who knew that life would change so dramatically? And for me, life did change dramatically in the past 5 years. Obviously, the changes have been very um, it's like for a while there it was like pick a year and something different would happen and all that. And but it's been it's been a ride. It really has. It's been quite the ride. I'm just grateful though. Um, Even through all the things that I've had to go through and endure, um, I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be alive at this exciting time in our history in the world. Not too many people on the planet can say that they were alive for, you know, like such a time as this, you know, as we see things surrounding us happening and all the different events unfolding, people's politics, the state of the world, the way things are, how people shop, how people interact with each other, going to the grocery store and having to wear a face covering. Um, we were at the Grand Canyon recently, and it was it was different because there were just so many like rules and regulations. There's signs everywhere, and then there's signs on the floor saying to keep your 6 feet distance. And I mean, it's like going to Taco Bell, for instance, when we were on our, it was basically our 5th year anniversary um, that we went up to the Grand Canyon. We stayed in the little town of Williams, Arizona, and we just wanted to go out to eat, right? We figured, okay, you're gonna have to wear a face covering, obviously, um, but I was just shocked at how just the simple, like in things that you wouldn't even think about, like going to Taco Bell, right, to get food, right? I mean, there was like this big long line. It was drive-through only. There was nothing normal. You couldn't use the dining room. You couldn't like just pop in and order and have a meal. I mean, self-service buffets. I mean, it's all changed. It's all changed. And it's crazy though, because while they were being so protective and everything at the Taco Bell, that they would close their drive-through, there was like a big girls softball tournament happening across the street. So it's like, here in Arizona, um, we haven't really been the greatest examples of, you know, what to do in a pandemic. Uh, we've been pretty like in this county actually. It's one of those counties where it's like I think they still think that they're in the Wild West. I think they still think that they live in like the 1880s when cowboys and Indians were, you know, um, a thing and stuff. And sheriffs ran the towns and deputies ran around and OK Corral and all that stuff. But it's like now it, it, it's just it's really bizarre because you have like these towns that say, you know, I know what they say, what you need to do, but we're not going to listen because we like being independent. We like being free. We like being able to do what we want to do and not be told what to do. And, it's like, whoa, what is it going to take for people to realize that we live in a different world right now? Oh, hi, Christine. I've been here. I've been here in Arizona. Just haven't really felt like doing much of anything with regards to videos or anything like that. Yeah, I did. I got a tat back in February. My wonderful husband ended up getting me this as a birthday present, and the symbol is of my native roots, which are Taino, and they have like symbols like from the Caribbean, the islands and stuff, and in Puerto Rico, where my ancestors are from. And I just wanted for my first tat to have an indigenous marking, to signify and just to be proud of my heritage as an indigenous person, an indigenous um, Caribbean islander. You know, my family is both my mom and dad were born on the island of Puerto Rico, and I came out as pretty much kind of like the darkest skinned person, and I used to feel ashamed of it because I thought, that I was that it was like almost, I don't know, it was like something that I wasn't proud of, and now that I realized that my skin color is part of my indigenousness, it's just a source of pride for me. I really enjoy this town. I mean, I'm so glad that I got it. Um, this is, whoops, that is the bird, the state animal that uh, the symbol of the island. It's called the coqui. And when you go to Puerto Rico, you can hear coquis all the time. They do this coqui sound. It's literally a coqui sound, and they like to sing during the night, and you just know because they're like they it's like it's really cool. It's really cool, but it's a native symbol, and my other symbol here is the sun, and the sun is a sacred symbol in indigenous Taino culture as well. And then I had the tattoo artist come up with different. He came up with different like patterns and stuff like that. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. It was like back in February. Marcus always talked about getting me a tat and stuff, and I was just like, I would love to get a tat. I just don't know what I would get. you know, and so he just kind of like went, you know what? I think it's your time. Oh, you said I want to go to PR. My sister's been there and loved it. It is a beautiful island. I haven't been there since. Oh my gosh! Like, when was the last time I was in PR? Um, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. And PR's been through so much. Um, with the Hurricane Maria and the blackouts that they had to endure, the struggles that they had to deal with. Puerto Rico is a very resilient island. The people are very resilient. Um, and I'm very proud to have my ancestry from there. And it would be so cool to go back. I would love to, you know, visit some of the indigenous places and things, not so much like the tourist sites and stuff, with regards to like, they have all these different, like, like typical tourist stuff that people do. Um, but more of like the native sites, like see the pottery and the different art pieces and the different statues and, you know, to actually visit um, an old native site or something. It would be so cool. I would just love it. Go down and I think in one of the caves in Puerto Rico, they have all these writings and stuff like these symbols like this. They have them etched in like the cave and stuff on the cave walls. So yeah, it's fascinating, really fascinating. The history. Um, And that's one of the things that I've been really uh, connecting with in the last year is my my nativeness and the importance of not forgetting where you come from, not forgetting where you've like where you've been, And although I wasn't born there because I was born in California, my heart, the way that I think, the way that I um, just innately behave, if I just let go of what has been programmed from this world of like always better, always stronger, always faster, always trying to get this and that and other materialism, whatever it is that really gets people to want to live in like this type of Americanized capitalist type society. When I get clear of that, and lately I've been able to do some yoga of all things. Yeah, I've been able to. It's been a long time. I've wanted to always start to learn how to do yoga and stuff, but I just never really kind of like made the time for it. So in this time of like the gyms being closed and things not being open and having to fend for yourself with regards to working out, um, I've discovered yoga, which is really super cool. I mean, I enjoy it. It's like something that I should have done a long time ago. Just something that I really needed to have done, you know, um, to clear your mind, to allow yourself to just center yourself and to be able to focus on what it means to focus on your breath. Um, it's just really cool. Oh, hi, Becky. Evening all. Hope all are well. Yeah, Mark's on the phone with a relative and stuff. And I just, I wanted to get on maybe like a couple weeks ago, and then I decided not to. But yeah, I um, I just haven't really had the oomph to do it and stuff. It just hasn't really been something that I was interested in doing, because so many times um, I've shared my life quite openly here on YouTube. I've been quite um, transparent, and I've been quite like open about so much about myself. And when I try to put together the benefits and the cons and the pros of being so transparent and being so like open on YouTube, the cons far outweigh the pros, because I have this tendency of being like brutally honest, and just open about my life, about what I'm doing with it, about my family, about, in the past I've been even more so exposing so much about myself that I ended up like really just letting people know too much. I let people know too much about me. And that ended up backfiring, because when Mark and I had our differences and stuff, and we were like, you know, against each other and constantly saying things about each other, it was like all bets were off and everybody knew everything about everybody. I mean, the two times that it happened, it's just been just such a disaster that when we got back together last year, and it'll have been a year since we got back together. And let me tell you, what a year it's been. It's been the best year of our entire relationship. Um, there was so much that I was dealing with, so much that I was processing, so much that I was trying to work through in the last half decade. Oh, wow, Amy's on parade. Hello, nice to see you. I just saw that you were live. Yeah, I just decided to just do a YouTube today. Um, I just wanted to let people know that I'm still alive, for one, that Mark and I are still together. Yes. I know that some people are like, oh, those two, they do one thing and then they change their mind, they do something else. They're together one moment, then they're enemies the next, or, you know, they're transition, detransition, and it's like, I, ever since 2017, um, I that was the last time that I detransitioned, and I told myself never again, never again, because 2016, you know, out of guilt, I did something that I thought everybody wanted me to do, which was to detransition, and I felt so guilty and all that, and I let guilt basically control my decisions. And 2017, again, I also felt guilty. Um, and more so than anything else are um, the children that I had in a previous relationship. But it's uh, it's something that you have to work through. And as a trans woman, you know, we are faced with challenges that others won't have to deal with, to quite such an extreme. And coming from a Christian background, coming from a very conservative, fundamentalist, you know, they would be Trump supporters, right? They would be pro-lifers. They would be, you know, um, anti-mask wearing, I'm sure, at this point. It probably would be. Um, but I've been able to release all those things that were holding me in a place of like despair and fear and self-loathing and worry. I was able to let go of all of it because not just when I do transition back in 2017, but those two pivotal times when I did that, um, it made me realize just how broken the system that I used to believe in really is, because both of the times that I attempted to do such, it was like such a waste of time, it's just such a waste of time. So then the last year, I was really able to shed the final, like, old skins of the past. Like, Christianity, finally done with it. Don't want anything to do with it. Learning more and more about how Christianity and materialism, Christianity and capitalism, Christianity and colonialism, Christianity and right-wing politics, Christianity and so many things, and racism. I mean, it's like Christianity is at the foundation and root of so much of what keeps humanity back, keeps humanity in chains, keeps humanity like stuck. Because, the Bible says, or God says in His Word, or, um, all these different things that people believe in that come from one book, that is supposed to be the guidebook for life, the manual for living. And when I realized more and more and more and more how the very device, the very tool that was used to say that I'm free is actually the tool that enslaves humanity. Christianity and slavery, Christianity and ex, excommunicating people, Christianity and discriminating the LGBTQ, IA, yeah, right. So she says, "I'm so glad you two worked it out." Yeah, me too. Me too. Because there's always been love between Mark and I, regardless of what we've all been through. Um, there's always been love. We've always gotten along. We've always enjoyed each other's company. There's so much that he's taught me about eating right, about, you know, clearing my mind, own it, feel it, feel it, and, that becomes like a trite saying until you actually put it into practice. And that's what I've been able to do, like with yoga. It's really because, like, if you try to do yoga at like the gym and stuff, you're probably going to be self-conscious, or if you go into a class, you're probably going to be like, a little like, oh, I don't know. But when you're able to do it in your own privacy and learn the movements, and there's so many like online tools for people to learn yoga and different ways to exercise and things, that it just, we just use it as an opportunity because we can't go to the gym. So we end up going to like our community room here at the park where we're at, and it's air conditioned. That's for one thing, because it's been like, can you believe it? In our car the other day, I took a picture of the temperature gauge and the speedometer in our little Fiat 500. 126 degrees. Yeah, that's hot. Of course, it's a dry heat, but nevertheless, it is hot in Arizona. Don't be fooled to think that it's not hot in Arizona, because it is. We live in the desert, which is great, because there's not many bugs. There's not, that pesky mosquito problem. We don't really have issues with storms and things like that, other than like monsoon season. But it's it's really it's really hot here. Yeah, compared to what you know, um, compared to Portland. Although Portland is like 100 degrees right now, but compared to Portland, it is really hot here. I mean, 126. I remember visiting here years ago when I used to work in television. And once you landed, you knew you were in the desert. You knew you were in the heat. And I would always say, Arizona is really cool, but it is so hot there. Let let it go on record. It is one of the hottest places It's the hottest place I've ever lived in. Absolutely. Amy's, oh, Fifth World. Hi, Fifth World. And I'm so happy for you. It took time to yourself. It just took time to yourself, right? Yeah, I mean, last year I wouldn't trade it for anything, because it allowed me to really like disconnect from everything and focus on the things that I needed to focus on. Work the kid issue out, because I was still dealing with a lot of repressed guilt, and it was something that I needed to like come to some kind of peace. I had to get to a place where I was at peace with myself. Um, a lot of you know that prior to transitioning, I was married and had children, and the thing that I feared the most is what took place. It's not like I didn't see it coming, because I knew, as a person that was raised in a Christian environment, that things would not end well. That's why I put off my transition as long as I could, because I didn't want to, um, you know, like have to deal with uh, the things that I ended up having to deal with, you know. So Amy says, 126, hot as Hades at all. Yes, it is as hot as hell here, literally. If there is a hell, this is probably the gateway. Obviously, I don't believe in hell, so just kidding. It is 90 in the city, and I thought that was hot. Yeah, 90. That's like running weather, right? That's like you could just like go jogging in 90. But 100? No, it's not 126. It's 126 in the car. So just to be like, just to give you like a true account of how hot it is, we've been in 115. I think it's been 118, and that's it. I haven't seen 120 just like walking around, you know. How is the state doing with lockdowns? I heard Arizona's up there with COVID. Yeah, um, that's the thing about that's the thing about Arizona, is that Arizona is like the South in a way because they are fiercely independent, and they think that if they have to listen to, like, if they have to be given a rule, like wear a mask or something, like they take it like as a assault on their independence. Most people in this community uh, here, or many, not probably not most, but many people in this community are pro-Trump supporters, and they're absolutely against wearing masks. You know, just like the fearless leader. Um, and in living here, I've noticed that there's this independent spirit that isn't really like a good thing in a sense because people think that they still live in the Wild West, like I was saying. Like I had a discussion with the mayor of a little town that we live in, Apache Junction, and there was a comment on one of the community discussion boards here in Apache on Facebook, and basically he chimed in, and they were talking about how, you know, the NIH director, um, Dr. Anthony Fauci, had said that people needed to use masks, you know, to slow the spread, which is common sense. I believe that masks do limit the spread of COVID 19. And basically, he chimes in and says something derogatory about Anthony Fauci. And then I commented and said, why is it that you're a mayor, you don't like want to protect your own citizens here that you were voted in to help protect and stuff? And he's like, I'm not going to tell people what they need to do. I'm not going to mandate anything. People can do whatever they feel that they need to do. If they want to wear a mask, they can. If they don't have to. We're going to have fireworks. You know, they have fireworks here. They have like a rally here. They have like, you know, things like as if nothing's happening. Yet a county away, because we live in Pinal County, a county away is Maricopa County. That is the county that Phoenix is in. And it's just a few miles down the road. Has the highest incidence of infection rates in the world, not just in the state of Arizona, not just in the West, not just in the United States, not just in North America, not just in the continent of America, but the entire world. And, you know, the governor, he's decided to shut down our gyms, but he leaves trampoline parks open. He shuts down the Salt River from being able to have people go tubing, but he allows for, you know, business as normal for beauty salons and nail salons and things. People like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, the gyms, you know, for one, when we were working out at Planet Fitness, I was amazed. You know, every time I go to a Planet Fitness, even before everything happened, amazed at how clean they are. Amazed at how much time they spend making sure that people are in a sterile and very germ-free environment, right? So, a gym of all places is not the place where people are going to contract COVID-19. I don't see it as happening, and see what, in effect, what people are doing, what the governor's doing, is really causing people to have the potential to become even more unhealthy, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Oh, yeah, churches can meet, right? Churches can meet, but we can't use the gym. And a gym is important. A gym is a part, should be a part of everyone's life. You know, Healthcare is something that every person should be concerned about. And part of that, part of healthcare is not just like getting prescriptions, which is actually the kind of long kind of healthcare, unless, obviously you have a condition you need it. But typically, I'm talking about preventative healthcare, the kind that allows you to like become more physically fit and make your immune system stronger, make your physical body stronger to give you the ability to be healthier. Healthcare is a part of your food choices, for instance. Okay, so Amy says 115. That's it. Whoa! I've been more worried about you too and COVID. I'm sure you're taking precautions. That made me feel better. Yeah, we use masks as much as whenever we go out. Um, we really don't like to go out much because there's not really too much to go out to anymore. Even just shopping, right, is like kind of like apocalyptic in a way. Like I went to Savers thrift store and bought some sports bras, some shorts, certain things because I got rid of some of the clothes that I bought last year because they were too big. Yay! I've been losing weight because been working out, and we went back to being vegan back in, oh gosh, after our little journey into carnivore land back in December, January. Um, we decided that what works for us is to be vegan. And we also went back to eating one meal a day, which I never thought would happen. I never thought that I would go back to um, an OMAD diet, I guess they call it, one meal a day. But it's really worked out really well. This time around, um, we basically have our little system. We wake up in the morning, get ready, step out the door. I know I'm giving you all these details, right? And walk to the gym because we can't use the gym that we were going to because we left Planet Fitness after they closed down the second time um, and joined another uh, gym that was actually kind of like wanting to stay open against the governor's orders and stuff. And then they got shut down like a couple weeks later. But during that time, we really enjoyed that gym. It's like a real gym, whereas, Planet Fitness is like a kiddie gym or a more simple kind of a gym. Although you can get a good workout at Planet Fitness, not as good as like a real fully stocked, fully equipped gym. But we went back to doing the things that we were doing in the past, like going to the gym, like, working out. We even started running a little bit, and then it got, well, 115. Need I say more? I mean, if you want to go out anytime to like just go run in weather that would be suitable for running, you'd probably have to be awake at 4 or 5 in the morning. And I'm not really much of a morning person. Anyway, getting back to our schedule. We get to the gym. We work out like for a couple of hours, I guess. Mark's been doing this calisthenics slash primal movements, like, like ape movements and like more primate type. They call it primal, is what they call it, and it's supposed to be really good for you and stuff like that. So um, I haven't gone that in that direction. I've done more of dumbbell workout, like cardio, high intensity training, um, yoga. Yeah, I'm doing yoga. It's been so good too. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. It's like so like liberating. It's so freeing just to, like stretch out and then just, do some of those moves where, you're really like stretching, your body. Ah, I like doing this one. It's like this. It's like, oh, it's so hard. It's like you like kind of stretch your leg out, and then you kind of do like this type of a lunge position, and then you straighten your arms out, and then so that's called the warrior two pose, I guess. And then this one is like another one that you do, and you kind of like look up to the sky, hold your balance, and I mean, there's so many. It's like I've learned like more about being able to be more flexible, touch. Yeah, there's so much. It's so cool. I like it. I'm really excited about it. It's really fun. It's allowed me to open up my hip flexors more, and my body just feels more limber. Like more flexible, um, and it's really good for like your mental state. So, getting back to the gym thing though, gyms are so important, you guys. Gyms are like crucial for people to be able to have access to, because at this time when people are fearful about the future and the things that could happen and different things that are taking place in our world and the uncertainty, there's one thing that you can do, and that is to take care of yourself mentally and physically. And, you know, um, having access to a gym is just so important. It's just so important for your mental well-being. Allows you to focus on things that benefit you rather than focusing on the things that are constantly, like, we had the George Floyd, you know, murder, the racism um, issues that have been sprouting up all around the country. Um, there's been, all this uncertainty with votes and, with the president saying one thing and then saying another, and, just all this weird, like, conspiracy stuff. And, we used to be conspiracy theory people um, a lot. I mean, there was so much that we used to do that used to involve that stuff. I mean, I remember when the Pulse shooting happened and the other one over in Vegas, and how we thought, different things, different scenarios, and things were being tossed around. But when you realize that all of that is just stuff that's used in order to get people to be more fearful, to be more um, negative, to be um, just in a state of panic and shock. I mean, it's really stuff that it serves no purpose at the end of the day. It just doesn't provide any kind of benefit for anybody. And everybody's got an opinion, right? You might have different politics than I would. That's one thing that we haven't been is very political, but in the past, 6 months, we have been so vocal about. I mean, I'm vocal in the sense of like my articles on Facebook are more like about, um, stuff with regards to the upcoming election and how important I think it is to get to vote this time around because um, there's so much at stake. There's so much to lose in this country if another 4 years is allowed for the guy that's in the Oval Office right now to do what he wants to do, because it's dangerous. It literally is dangerous. We're at a very much a crossroads in this country. And, I've become more political. Like, we both registered to vote. And I'm not ashamed to say that we're going to vote for Biden because um, I just, I've never really agreed with the policies of the current president and the things that he says. I mean, last week, for instance, he was advocating the work of a certain doctor in Texas who is like a right-wing Christian fundamentalist who is anti-LGBT and is very super like charismatic, spiritual, and is just floating all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories, craziness. It's just so yeah, we become more political, but not so much that we're like on YouTube making videos and that kind of thing, but just aware of the current situation and how we need to be proactive to help usher a change in the world. Um, Breaks my heart to see what happened in Minneapolis because I used to live there and to see what took place and to see the underbelly of racism be exposed for what it is. I grew up uh, facing and dealing with the ugliness of racism because of the skin color that I have and feeling discriminated against. And as an LGBT person, on top of that, it's been it's been the challenge throughout my life, dealing with discrimination, dealing with people. Um, and the funny thing is that those that think they're enlightened, those that think they're awake, those that think they're like really knowing, what what it is that that they believe in and stuff, but literally, it's like the opposite. It's like if someone says they're of the light, it's like they're really from the dark, because what's right is wrong, what's wrong is right. It's like so many things that people used to not question, and then now you're like, oh my gosh, this is why. I mean, I used to think this country was great. I used to think that there was a lot to be proud of, but in this time, I've been able to focus on, you know, finding out the truth and finding out the deep-seated evil that this country has been a part of for so long. You know, the racism issue for a while. It's been an Achilles heel to this country, and it's gone on for way, 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 way too long. You know, There's so much that we don't quite understand because we haven't been told, we haven't been taught. Recently, I was reading a book with Mark. I like to read books to Mark. It's like, he doesn't like to read, so I like to read to him and stuff like that. And there's this one book I've been reading talking about how back in the 1700s that the settlers, people from Europe that came over to what is now known as America, if if they were able to get into the culture of the native people, they would that culture would like kind of like become their culture because their culture was so pure. Their culture was so like um, non-threatening. Their culture was not violent. You know, they lived differently. They had a different relationship with Mother Earth and the planet and the animals, and you know, growing um, crops and you know, ownership of land and all these things that when native people allowed you know these Europeans to come in and be part of their community, they wouldn't want to leave the community. They, as opposed to like what's been taught, what we've been told is that you know that these people were savages and that they were like being shown a better way by the Europeans that came. And the exact opposite is true. The truth is that the purity, the goodness, the wholeness, the organicness of the native cultures would so like transform and change the European that came over that they wouldn't want to go back to their materialism, to you know becoming a tobacco farmer or becoming a rich landowner. They just wanted to be part of the community, and these things are totally lost. You know, we're not told these things. We're not told anything about the goodness and the wholesomeness of these native cultures and the impact they had on societies that would discover them. You know, because once they discovered them, they wanted to be a part of them. So much so that if there was like a war and there were, you know, natives that had Europeans in their community and they were sent back to the community, the colonies and stuff, they would have to tie them hand and foot because they didn't want to leave. And those that had been captured by the colonists and stuff, the natives that were there through, you know, like captivity, they would gladly go back. They were grateful to be able to go back to their cultures because what's taught isn't something that is true, you know. Um, for instance, the picture of the first Thanksgiving, as if the Europeans made this wonderful spread for those savage Indians that didn't know any better and gave them turkey and, you know, pumpkin pie, pecan pie, cranberry sauce, all these different traditional Thanksgiving type, you know, staples. And they think that the natives didn't know anything about that. Everything that I just described wasn't the Europeans. It was the natives who introduced that to them. So things that we think are only so because our history is skewed. The things that we're taught are so Eurocentric. It's like thinking about the greatest acquisition of land in the history of the United States was back in 1803 or something, when Thomas Jefferson made a deal with the French for the Louisiana Purchase and stuff. So we think that this land belonged to the French. It didn't. They had no ownership rights to the land. They didn't settle the land. They sold land that wasn't even theirs to the United States. It belonged to the native populations, and it was contested up until 1890. So these are the things that we're not told. The things that we think that we know are just not true. So we see 45 is what we call the man in the White House. It's really scary and frustrating. He is capable of anything that he feels that he can be capable of. And for a guy that ran around basically back in the 70s and 80s in New York, the only way you could build anything in that city, and you're from New York, I'm sure you would know, is if you were linked with the mob. If you were a mobster, then your high rise would go up, and if you weren't, you wouldn't be able to do anything real estate wise in New York City and Manhattan, and all the different boroughs and towns in New York and stuff, especially New York City. You can copy and then paste that, and it will show you a real map of America and where all the different tribes resided. Wow, yeah. What happened to the Cherokee and the Choctaw and the Iroquois and the Narragansett and the Pequot? And, it's like, if they talk about, scalping and, the things that took place that they blame native tribes for, and the very thing that they blame native tribes for is what the European settlers did to the native. The concept of a concentration camp came from, the one that Hitler took as an example, came from the U.S. cavalry and their brutal treatment of native populations. Imagine sending a whole, tribe of thousands and thousands of people on this harrowing journey away from North Carolina and Tennessee mountains to resettle them all the way out in Oklahoma, and not to care about their safety, about their health, about their, anything about them, but simply to just evict them from land that had been part of their lives for thousands of years. You go visit North Carolina and Tennessee now, and you could just feel the emptiness of the mountain. It's like it lost its soul. It lost its vibrancy because the people that were entrusted to shepherd it and to take care of it, to protect it, to honor it, to be entrusted to it, were removed forcibly. And it's really, really sad. Really, really sad. I realize that there's so much that we've been told that's a lie. So much that we thought was true, but when you research it, you come to understand that it was only true because they said it was true. It's like President Trump um, talking about it was like during a hurricane or something where he said something about something being in a different state or a different place. And literally, the National Weather Service and NOAA, all these professional organizations had to bend the truth for the bully president to say that, like, oh no, Mobile, Alabama isn't in Mobile, Alabama, it's in Florida. It's like, they changed, the president early on when he was inaugurated had this bold-faced lie about how big the crowds were in Washington, D.C. the day of his inauguration. And it's obvious that he would never even hold even a trickle of the amount of people that Obama did when he first got inaugurated. And but he insisted. He insisted on telling people that, the crowds were never bigger. It's the biggest crowd ever. And if you notice with this president, it's always the biggest, the best, the brightest, the never been done before, we're the most, where is the sanity in, and it's not even sanity, where's the competence and common sense in understanding that if you test more people and more people show up as being infected, that doing less testing and thereby reducing the numbers makes any sense as to whether this is able to be taking like control of or not. It's like, where's the logic? It's almost like there's just no more logic. We have to listen to this constant barrage of lies, not just from the president, but from Kayleigh McEnany, his press secretary, who basically lies for a living now. I was watching a political show with Mark yesterday that they had one of the guys that works with the coronavirus task force, and he said, and they've been able to take control of the situation in Arizona, and there was only hundreds infected recently as opposed to thousands. And it's like, I went on my website for my state to look up how many people have been infected with COVID today or yesterday, and it was like over 1,000, like 2,500 people. So these people, they lie, and they think that people don't want to do their homework. They don't want to, research what's taking place. And they literally count on our stupidity in just taking things for face value and not looking it up for ourselves. Christine says, I'm 39 years old and I've never seen such an ugly place as this. People become cold and just nasty. Prejudice is at its highest I've ever seen before. Yeah, we are living in a very pivotal time. I think that, and I'm an optimist, I think that things are going to get better, because I think that the election of Donald Trump back in 2016 wasn't like breathing life into like something that had been forgotten and stuff, and that there's now a resurgence, but it's kind of like the last bleeding breath of a system that is dying. It's like the last dinosaur, and I'm very hopeful because I know that the world that we're going to be a part of in the future is not going to be racist, is not going to be discriminatory, is not going to consider one group more valuable than the other based on the color of their skin or their place in society. I think things are going to get better. I really do. I think that a younger generation understands that the way things were is not the way they want things to be. And, there's this rising tide among the youth that says, the way my mom and dad did it, the way I was raised to believe, there's so many people that don't go to church anymore. And not because not because it's just disillusionment, but I think it's because people literally are fed up with being lied to. And I think that with everybody having to focus on things that aren't um, so centered on being materialistic and, you know, um, working for the, the American dream and all that stuff, and how we see this world changing. Um, I just really do see a massive groundswell, massive, like, pivotal time. It's like the world as it was after Donald Trump is going to be much different than the world that is right now. I really do. I think that this planet has better days coming. People are going to become more thoughtful. People are going to become kinder. People are, there's always going to be those that aren't nice and that are discriminatory and stuff. But I really do think that the tide is really, the pendulum is swung back in the direction of being a good human, of honoring the, the organicness of human life and not being so artificial, so caught up in social media and the perfect picture and, this, that, and the other for a profit and all these different things. I really do think that the world is going to get better. And that makes me hopeful, you know, when I heard President Obama during the funeral of the senator and great civil rights leader, John Lewis. When I heard him speak, it reminded me of, wow, that's what a president sounds like. When I heard George Bush speak, when I heard Bill Clinton speak, when I heard these men speak who have been president of this country, when I heard them speak, it reminded me, wow, that's what it meant to look presidential. That's what it meant to act presidential. The president that we have now has no earthly clue about what it means to be presidential. He repeats himself incessantly, says the same words constantly, is really appealing to his base of hatred, the people that discriminate and like to put people down based on the color of their skin or their gender or their sexual preference or their political affiliation or their social status. I mean, those are the people that he appeals to. And I would venture to say that that's not the majority of humans in this country. Um, we are not the people that want to deal with this anymore. You know, I think people were duped. I think Christians went in bed with with the wrong intent. You know, they decided to cast their lot with this guy who promised them the world, and I think it delegitimized their entire belief system because they can look away at the evil, but yet condone the behavior of what he's done to our country. Our country's never been more divided. But it's so good to see people protesting, people saying, enough is enough. We are tired of being like bullied. We're tired of being lied to. We're tired of like being manipulated and controlled. You know, the same fear mongering that takes place within Christianity with their whole like end of the world scenario that, you know, God's coming and the mark of the beast and 666 and Jesus return and all this stuff. It plays right into the whole concept of conspiracy theories. I mean, Christianity, in my opinion, is probably the oldest conspiracy like belief system that exists. You know, I was told from an early age that, you know, get ready, Jesus is coming. You know, don't be doing things that you shouldn't be doing, because if you do and the rapture happens and you get left behind, the world's not going to be a good place. And it's like constant fear, you know, instead of like taking it easy, being at peace, and maybe doing some yoga or something, because even yoga is considered demonic in Christian circles, you know, even that. Um, Instead, it's like feeding fear, feeding like all this negativity, all this like constant regurgitating like all these things that could happen and might happen and will happen. Amy says, I wish New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo would run for president. He is intelligent and caring, but tough. He got the job done during the pandemic in New York State. I was impressed. I was impressed with your governor. He was like must-see TV back in May when he was talking about, okay, now, people in New York, you're not going to like what I'm having to say, but this is what we're going to have to do, and this is what's going to be done. And, you know, he was like boots on the ground, working hard, and I loved it. I loved watching him. I loved watching what he had to say and how he stood up to the president and didn't like let himself get bullied by the White House, which is what the White House does best, is to bully people. So I was really impressed with him, and I agree. I think, you know, it would have been nice to have, and early on I thought maybe he could just like maybe run for president or something, because, you know, we all have our concerns about the choices, and I'll take um, I'll take the one choice over the other, but Is it the best that could have been? Probably not. I wish there was another option, but there isn't. So we have to like work with what we have. And I like the fact that Joe Biden is a very compassionate, caring, kind individual. Um, he's been in government for a very long time, but um, I mean, the options are, the other one is not an option. I mean, he's brought so much shame to our country. He's brought so much disregard. On a global scale, we're like a laughing stock. You know, um, in the world. Because our president is like the schoolroom idiot. You know, I think you know Joe Biden, by picking the right candidate for vice president, um, it's his to win. You know, because I think people are fed up. Even the people that voted for Trump, other than the few like 12 percenters that are diehard flag wavers, and a lot of them also are Nazi sympathizers, right wingers, people that absolutely have a lot of racist intent. I mean, because it's no coincidence that even in this little town that they were doing uh, a news story, and they were sharing the differences between two communities. One's Guadalupe, Arizona, where they have enacted a mask ordinance, and here in Apache, where it's a free for all, right? Um, they went to a rally, and along with the Trump flags and stuff like that, there was the stars and bars, Confederate, Nazi symbolism, white supremacy. It's like, if you don't believe that the president is a racist, you haven't really been paying attention to what he's been saying or what he's said in the past. I think Obama said it best when he said, we may not have George Wallace, and George Wallace was a very racist bigot in the state of Alabama, I think it was, back in the 60s, who literally had African Americans attacked with police dogs and water hoses from fire hydrants. It's just disgusting what took place, and what is taking place even now is all the more disgusting, because in this age where we elected a black president, you would think that America would have grown up and matured and been able to have become a better nation. But no, racism is in the DNA of this American Republic. It was a founding principle. A nation not founded on a democracy, which is a voice for the people, but an oligarchy, which is based on the voice of the rich, the few, the landowners, the business owners. Even back then, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, they weren't just regular citizens. These were men who owned lots of land and in many cases, lots of slaves. And that has been what this country has founded itself on: the subjugation of others, the enslavement of others. And we may not have slaves in the sense of slaves as they were, but we have a system that was built by the system of slavery, where communities across America are racially segregated. And, you know, there has been thought into planning cities, how they run their districts, how they build in different places, how they allow for certain groups in and other groups are not. Um, there's, a history of sundown towns in this country. Tucson was one of them. Bisbee, Arizona, Scottsdale, all these different places in Arizona and in other places all around the United States where a sundown town was basically, don't let the sun go down on you, black person, for you to be in this town. We won't allow you to be here. It's like, that's how these towns were built, and that's how they were given their ability to develop. So it's a nation built on slavery. It's a nation built off of a system of control and a voice for the rich and the silencing of the many, of the people. So hopefully we can turn that around for the better. We can make better choices. We can become a better nation. We can become a better people. We can be what we were always meant to be, not just Americans, but good humans. People not caught up in race or social status or, you know, borders and, you know, ethnicities, but just as humans, all sharing this planet together. I've said enough. And I will, on that note, let you guys go enjoy the rest of your evening. But thanks for coming by and appreciate all of you. Thank you, my old friends who came by and said hi. My friend Amy, Christine, uh, who else? Becky, Fifth World. All right, I'll see you guys later. Have a good evening. Bye.